have ahead in kind of our product roadmap, and then also answer any questions that you all have. We got a little bit of a late start. Lucian, woohoo, you made it into the room. Congrats. Really glad you were able to figure it out and make it in here. Um, so let's just take a look. Normally we do some introductions, but we also have an activity. I'm just going to look through and see where everyone is from. We have Taewook in New York City. Our spatial team is also in New York City, Mo and Bree. Looks like Sean is from Santa Clara. Michael's in Austin. Um, let's see. Kyle, where are you located? When just feel free to jump in and unmute yourself. Uh, Andy is in Salzburg. Eduardo on our team is in Amsterdam. We got Canada in the house. Brian, Stefan in Germany. Who's in DC here? Um, let's see. Sam is in Washington D.C. Um, and then Jonathan is in Massachusetts. And we have North Carolina in the house. So we have people from all over, and it's great to have you join us at various times of the morning, afternoon, and evening. Um, Today we're going to get started. Welcome, Callie. Um, Today we're going to get started, and Eduardo's going to lead us through an activity just so we can learn more about how you're using spatial. And then we'd love to hear um, the things that you really, really love about it, and then the areas that we need to work on and make it better for you all. And then we'll jump into Q&A, and Bree, Mo, and I, and Eduardo will answer any questions that you have, and then we'll wrap it up just with just kind of some things to discuss, like in terms of our product roadmap going down the road. So I'm going to turn it over to Eduardo to lead us through the next part.
Thank you. So, as you have heard, the ones who arrived before we started, would like to hear from you what are some of the use cases that Spatial could help you achieve and complete. So, some of you have already been writing, posted here, but I'd like for the rest of you who have not contributed to this wall yet is either uh, grab one of these dots because you are, for example, thinking that you also want to be part of or use it as a virtual training, and then this could be like a plus one, or just simply create the other use cases that you'd like to use spatial for. And don't feel threat about maybe saying something that you don't know if it will work or not work. What we'd like to hear is all possibilities that you have in mind, and our team will help you later say, yes, totally, you can do this, or actually, this is a very cool idea we could explore together in the future. So feel free to work on this for 3 5 minutes, and after that, we'll discuss. Going to add a few more dottings.
And then if you don't see what your a note that kind of covers how you're using spatial, feel free to create a new note and add that to the add that to the board. I see there's quite a lot of different options up there, but Bree and I know talking with so many people, that's not fully inclusive of all the different ways that people are using it. So if you're using it in a way that's really unique, please share your idea. We want to hear it, and just add your note to the wall. And
We will
if
love
there
hearing
we
your
need
ideas.
more room, we can cover the text on the top part of the wall. And while you're doing that, Bree, what's like some of the most unique ways that you've seen people using spatial?
That's a good question. The most unique. There are all sorts of really interesting design thinking type of meetings that people have been having in spatial, and honestly, not this. Uh, this activity is kind of a good example of those types, but it can really be extrapolated into so many different types of meetings and workshops that people have been conducting. And let's see, I'm trying to think of the really unique ones. But
Thank you.
yeah, I mean, there's people who have whole walls of sticky notes for doing project management, which is really cool. Um, Especially with teams that are remote all over the world, um, being able to use spatial for that.
Awesome, awesome. And then that's great. Um, I think Eduardo and I met with somebody yesterday, and we tried to replicate it and have it ready for you all today. But he had a 3D version. This user who's one of our power users who's been with us since last last July. He created like a tower in the middle of the room. It was a 3D object that he brought in, and people were adding notes to this three-dimensional uh, object that he created. So people were circling around this object and contributing it rather than all of us who are we're all facing this orange wall. It was really nice to see how people were working together and facing one another. So our goal is to replicate his idea in the future. We just didn't have enough time to, so we kind of has this. I wouldn't say traditional because we're in VR using post-it notes. So this is pretty awesome to start with. um, all right.
Yeah, along those lines, we have people that are, they'll bring in different 3D models and create a little, bring in 3D models and pin them and create little sculptures to, share ideas, which is
Mhm.
kind of along the same lines as what I'm envisioning you're talking about, Aaron.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Um, well, I'll ask the user to, if we can share with you all. It's pretty amazing. All right. So it looks like we have a good amount of notes there. Eduardo, are you, can you hear me? Okay.
Absolutely. So let's talk about what we all have done. We see in the left hand side content review and some dots in here, especially 360. Really interesting. A lot of workshop facilitation. So this could be an example of a workshop activity where different people contribute, and this is totally doable in a spatial design thinking sessions, also for clients, and many of the consultants are currently doing this, posting videos, articles, and links. This is something that you can currently do through the website, and was the way we brought in some of these frameworks. But you can also bring in 3D models, workshops, and this emphasis on remote and global teams. But I really like also these Friday bars. This has not to be all about, being super serious, super formal. It could be about connecting and socializing, networking events, town hall meetings. Really interesting. And then maybe someone could talk birds of a feather conference talks. I don't understand this one. Any of you know or could explain it a bit better?
Yeah, I wrote that. This is Callie. Uh, there's like I was trying to say it succinctly on the post-it, but really like at the when you're meeting for a conference, not just listening to a talk, but when there's like breakout sessions for people who are interested in a specific topic, where people can just discuss and have an informal conversation, and there isn't necessarily a leader of that talk or a presenter. It's more informal.
Right. those
Well, I
breakout
love it.
rooms. Super interesting. I love it too. Yeah, and this can give us already some idea about how could we split this group into smaller groups, come up with some
Mhm.
decisions or ideas, and then circulate back to the bigger group. Um, Client presentations, 3D programs, absolutely. So, Bree, Aaron, could you say that facial could allow you to do all of these, or it's only a wish in its current form?
Um,
Let's see.
so yeah, I think I've talked to people about most of these types of use cases, except for Friday bars. I mean, but like, yeah, you could do that. I love happy hour type situation.
Mm.
The one that gets complicated, and I'm actually in the process of writing one of our help center articles about it, is the different types of conferences and town hall meetings, and with the challenge with that, and there's a lot of solutions as well as challenges to the fact that there's 30 people limit to a room right now. But as Callie described, um, being able to have breakout sessions, or say you're having a conference and each you can have spatial rooms as different booths, for instance. So there's a lot of pretty unique ways to get around the room size limit.
And
I
I
actually have a
think,
question on. Yeah.
yeah, go for it, Andy.
No, never mind. Yeah, I was just going to ask because we're talking about networking and breakout sessions and that sort of thing. Just a quick question. So you said there's a maximum of 30 people per room right now, and obviously we're all a bit cramped in here. But do you guys have bigger rooms already, or is this something that you're going to talk about on the roadmap topic? And then also because I'm just wondering, like, if we all started to talk to one another, how well that would work within this fairly small space with 30 people. Can you share some information on that? What you guys have and what you're
Yeah.
planning on?
Hmm.
Uh, so you will be able to um, kind of create. Um, I'm not sure what's the term that I've been referring to it as, like a cone of silence. Like if you wanted to have a private conversation, and
Yep.
Right. We lost your audio, Bree.
so if you wanted to talk,
There we go.
yeah, sorry, my headset's died and I walked farther and unplugged it.
Oh no!
But I caught it.
You're back. You're back. We can hear you now.
So yeah, so you'll be able to have one-on-one conversations and like kind of sidebar.
Mhm.
Um, and as far
Yeah.
as VR
So,
room size, I'm not sure, but I'm in AR right now, so I can kind of walk as far as my physical space. So if you go into a bigger
Okay.
physical space,
Okay.
then you're not
Okay.
limited.
Right.
mhm. and and Andy, additionally on the Quest, there will be other environments that
Great.
you can select from. One of them that's in the pipeline is a boardroom, but additionally, we're getting a lot of requests for just having a bigger open space, especially to host larger groups, or to
Fantastic.
upload 3D models to change the entire environment. And we'll kind of speak
Sweet.
to those kind of things that are on the product roadmap
Yeah. Sorry
towards
for
the
interrupting. Yeah.
end of the
Okay.
call. No, but that's a good question. So it's kind of fun to navigate and uh, around and have a journey of questions along the way. It's kind of nice. All right, back to you, Eduardo.
So I think with this we complete this first activity in orange, and now we can move to this other side, the green panel, and this could be really interesting because you may have already explored some functionalities in spatial, and we'd like to hear like what are the ones that you like the most, and you can put those in the left hand side, and what are some of the areas where you think we could improve or expand the product, and we will discuss them all, and you can put them on the right hand side. As I told you before, a pro tip, you can go in mute and use the voice to write a note, and it's a lot faster. So yeah, let's do another 3 5 minutes for this one.
Yeah. Mm, I'm excited for the bubble of silence because then I could tap Eduardo and say, "Hi, Eduardo. We actually haven't met yet. It's nice to meet you."
And we would
True,
love
it's
to.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
High five.
How's it going? High five.
Okay, we race everything.
I know.
I'm loving it, Brie. Like so far this last month, I met a bunch of new users and recently also power users. And it's amazing to learn like
Awesome.
what they are using it for and what are some of the areas where they struggle or they like to try new things. So I'm going to be invited to a few design reviews with internal teams and be an observer of those rooms. And it feels amazing that I can do that without traveling out of my home in Amsterdam.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, if you ever want to join some of
White
the
label
customer
iPod
meetings
for
with me to
creating new
see how they're
rooms.
using it, just let me know.
That will be super. Yeah, let's connect on Slack later, Friday.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're having a lot of positive. I'm loving it. I'm gonna bring in more dots because if you see that something has already been written and you want to plus one, you can use these dots.
All right, and I'm enlarging some of the post-it notes or notes. I guess they're not technically post-it notes, although I end up calling them that for some reason.
How did you enlarge them?
So if you point both lasers towards a post-it note and then pull trigger, the laser will become a straight line, and then you can resize them.
That's cool.
And while everyone's doing this, Bree and I host daily demos. So if you haven't gone through a demo yet, it's a really great way to kind of, we'll walk you through all the different
A
features as
respectable
well.
whiteboard.
Yes, that is in the pipeline. Um, the so the demos that we host, we also show you a bunch of example rooms and different ways that you can use spatial, and we touch base on a lot of the ones that you've all posted on the orange wall behind us, and they're a lot of fun. You get to meet people and see entire 3D models, and we bring in a sprint store that we could walk around and go shopping for new phones. So it's a lot of fun. And if the links to sign up for those are in the welcome email that we sent out, or if you join our Slack community, which is guestinvite.spatial.io, we also post those links weekly.
Or talking to you guys about features or improvements, is Slack the quickest and best way to reach you, or do you have a Discord? Or
We
Yeah,
just have
Slack is a
Slack.
great place for that.
Yeah.
perfect.
And a lot of times people will ask questions in the general Slack channel. And uh, a lot of the responses come from other users. So you can get an answer much more quickly. Um, and if you have questions just in general, we do have some documentation about how to do a variety of different things in spatial. So if you go to support.spatial.io, we have some other information, but the quickest way is definitely Slack, especially as we've grown quite a bit.
And could you guys write a
Aaron,
note on the Slack address, or say it again? I think I missed it.
Yeah, I can do it. I'll
Thank you.
put it on the main dotted wall,
Yeah,
but it's
Aaron,
guestinvite.spatial.io.
guys, my favorite feedback that I see so far on this wall is the female avatar body is too big. I've been saying that for a long time. We look like linebackers. It's great.
um,
Yes.
Aaron, am I the only one who would really, really see number one being a respectable whiteboard? I mean, it's really hard to
Uh,
write in 3D space. You know, if you try, I mean, it's you got to get the right angle when people are writing on 3D space. Whereas if it's a whiteboard, then anywhere you can see it, you can read it like a algebraic formula or something. How are you going to like? You need like a 2D space to write on. I think is that not
You
something
do you
people? Is
refer
there
about
some?
the
Are
do
people
you
using
refer
something else? Hmm?
you refer about the scribble feature?
Yeah, but unless I'm misusing it or something, it's all 3D, right? So it's spatial writing. Am I wrong? Whereas I just like to be able to write as though I write in a whiteboard, which is like what I'm used to. Am I missing something?
No, no, you are totally right, and this is some of the feedback that we have gotten most recently, and it's one of the areas where we want to improve the product,
I
make
haven't
it a
seen, I haven't
thicker
yet
and to
seen.
more thicker and 2D, two dimensional.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen one in several applications that I've been in. I haven't really seen one that I really feel comfortable. In I tried Rumi and others, and I guess the only one it's in Rec Room. Believe it or not, Rec Room has a respectable
Mm,
one. But
yeah,
that's I wonder why people are just not doing that yet.
Yeah,
yeah,
the
yeah.
Rec
So
Room does have a good whiteboard. Half-Life Alex too. I don't know if you've done that VR experience. It's more of a gaming application. Um,
Uh-huh. They
and
have
then
that.
internally, yeah, they have a whiteboard that it kind of has a lot of mathematical tricks to as you your
Wow.
hand doesn't go through the wall, so it feels more like you're writing on a 2D surface, even though you're in 3D. And internally,
Uh-huh.
around a year ago, we actually made our own um, VR
Cool.
whiteboard using some of the same techniques that Rec Room does, and then Half Life Alex also does. Um, but yeah, I feel like it's definitely possible to have a whiteboard in a space like this that has those constraints that work really well to
Yeah.
kind of
When you
address
say
drawing and
where
Half
when you
Life
say
looks
internally, is
really
that
good.
in your own company? Like, you're not from Spatial? You're like you build your own in a
No, no,
separate.
I'm from Horizon Productions in Durham. Um, we create kind of VR experiences for Lenovo and a couple other companies. So
Oh,
one of our experiences was it was an office environment to tell this narrative story that Lenovo was trying to tell, and we had a whiteboard in the um,
okay. Hmm.
research and create something like that.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
and just to add to that, we will speak to the whiteboard, to avatars, and to those two things when we talk a little bit about the product roadmap. Um, I, I could go on forever about some of the things that we have coming that are really awesome to address both of those. But I don't want to take away from kind of the process Eduardo is going through, but we will touch base on those in a little bit. And I think, Eduardo, we're getting close to the maximum amount of content with the number of people in the room. I don't know if you all can see things starting to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, I
But we,
think
You
yeah,
edit
we
yeah,
can talk briefly about the pros part, and after that you could connect the edit for improvement with the roadmap that we have in mind.
perfect. Yeah,
So
so I think the Mo, Bree, and I, we can kind of hit those things together um, once we get to that
okay.
point.
Yeah, so talking about the pros in the left-hand side, I see comment about people and avatars, the audio, the images that you can add in here, the different type of content. So it seems that you're seeing that you have different possibilities of 3D, 2D documents. The accessibility part, that this goes a little bit hand in hand with a wish for more compatibility to other headsets. That I'd like to hear more about that. And the stability, and now I think, yeah, we're maxing almost the capacity of the room, and we're still hearing each other, adding content. So really cool to see that. you have already been able to get all of this value from the solution. And if anyone wants to comment about any good experience you've had or any first impressions that you've had either today or in the previous occasions, it's a really good time also to hear from you something about this part.
Yeah, there was one thing that I specifically loved, and was the fact that it was possible basically from the app, so the web app in the phone, directly take a picture of the real world and then bring it here just with one click. That was something that I found very useful, and I mean could has really, I think, a lot of potential of interfacing the virtual world with actually what you get in the real one.
Right. Right. Yeah. Bringing
And
in
your desktop.
things. Hmm. Yeah. Thank you, Gabriela. Anybody else?
I mean, I think you got the audio so well thought out. It's just, people underestimate just how important the audio is. I mean, people just tend to emphasize on the look and feel, but audio is so critical and it gets mushed up all the time. And you guys just really have done head and shoulders work on audio over everybody else that I've seen. Just kudos to that.
Yeah. Thank you, Jonathan. So yeah, talking more on the left hand side, the areas that you'd like the solution to improve. We have been talking about the whiteboard and also having a 2D marker or scribble. Um, Aaron, Bree, do you want to comment on that?
Sorry, which one, Eduardo?
So we're talking
Whiteboard.
about the whiteboard and a 2D
Whiteboard, yeah.
scribble.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Mo,
So
okay.
there's a number of
Oh, go
phases
for it.
for that. Yeah, go ahead, Mo. Mo, go ahead.
No, no, Brie, please go ahead.
So yeah, there's a couple of phases of like getting to whiteboard. Something that I think uh, you'll be excited about soon, that's going to be coming out, is as you see these notes, you're going to be able to actually draw onto a note. So I don't know how, like, if you guys were in elementary school and you had those personal whiteboards that you could draw on and like hold up for the class, kind of like that type of ideas. That's at least how I think about it. And you can put them anywhere in the room. And then there's a number of phases after that to get to different types of ways to get content to a respectable whiteboard. If anyone wants to pick up from there.
Yeah, so I guess the short of it is a whiteboard is coming. So we do and have seen rec rooms. Rec rooms is amazing. Somebody mentioned that earlier, but that is one of the most asked for features. So it is possible that we may do some early testing. So if you are interested in being a beta tester for some of our features, we do have a sign up for that if you want to kind of get early access and provide your input. Um, uh, please sign up for the early access and beta like sign up, and I'll post that in the Slack channel for you all.
Right. The variety of spaces is something that we already spoke about, and now talking about avatars, there is sensation of claustrophobia and also some protection of the personal space. I think this is very interesting as we are translating social behaviors from the real world into a virtual world, and we still have that need of keeping our space somehow safe and personal. If anybody wants to share a bit the story behind this post-it, it will be really cool for us to hear.
Sure, yeah, that was me. Yeah, I just as I watched the various some of you speak, just the navigation, like, see here, this fellow beside me in the red shirt. It's very strange that I can walk right into his bubble, and I'm in a space. Sorry, but it's so I've had that happen multiple times while I'm in this room, and it's extremely like, oh, dude, like it's it.
That's what I like about virtual reality. That it's got to emulate our actual reality for it to feel comfortable. I've had a number of people teleport right in my face, and I feel like going like, "Hey, what's going on? Can you just give me a little space?" Even watching new presenters, we're all gathering around you in a very chaotic way. Like it's too bad there's not like chairs here we could snap our bodies to. Like I can teleport to this chair, and it feels good, but I just like, and I'm that's funny because I don't actually ever get claustrophobic, but this room has so far. I don't know. I feel very uncomfortable.
Mm, mm,
Mm.
that's great feedback.
Yeah,
We've
thank
had
you.
a
Yeah,
lot
Yeah,
of
I
thank
think
you
it
for
requests.
also has
sharing.
to
Yeah,
do maybe with
yeah.
the numbers, right? It's really like a lot of people here. So maybe this is like, I don't know if you would ever host someone in such a room with so many, right? I think this is a room that works well with four, five, six people. Above that,
Hmm.
it really gets big. I think to host so many, you will really need another space. So this is more like really stress testing the platform, I feel like.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I think the room is just
An
small. I was
unintentional
recently in
stress test.
meeting with Engage with 50 people at one time. So it was no big deal. But the room was larger, so it was more
Mm.
convenient than here. So you could distribute in the area.
Hmm. Right. Okay, let's continue seeing some of the other topics. The integrations to where did I read? Over here, better integration with web browser for non-headset users, and also some freedom to move the camera for that web user. Really interesting because that will allow other people who don't have had yet a headset to be part of the experience and not miss on it. So what's coming in that area, Aaron? Can you comment?
So better integration with the web browser for non-headset users. So we do know that if you participate from the web app, some of the things that you cannot do is actually interact with the content. So you could add notes, share your screen, share your video. So those things are nice, but it actually there is a little bit of disconnect because basically whoever is moving the camera, this is amazing. So they had the camera actually where the web app camera was originally in this back wall. So if you've joined from the web app, you basically just see this room. But if somebody's talking, you aren't necessarily connected to them. But we do have some prototypes in the works where the camera will be zooming in onto the person to create a better connection between who's in the web app and then the people in the room. And then next, this kind of gets into our product roadmap, but we will app with AR Kit and AR Core, where you'll be able to join the room from your phone, which will give you the capability of moving content. So that next step that's really lacking in the web app, you'll be able to do from your phone, which we're really excited about. And we will be doing some early beta testing on that. So another pitch to
Sweet.
sign up for that group. And I know that there's a lot of interest, and we're personally excited about it and we're talking about it all the time. I hear Bree talking about it, and our team is super excited. So that's in the works. But we do know that we need to work on this, and we have some solutions with with the mobile app and audio switching between who's speaking to help that connection. But you will not be able to interact with content from the web app, which is such a like wah, wah, like kind of feeling. Um, but great things to come to kind of solve that and have a better integration. And that's
Aaron,
it.
do you have any idea, estimate of when it might happen?
I
Like
do,
test
but you know
phase,
how
whatever.
product development goes. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. We like add some additional features, but I'd say like 2 months and sooner, um, just to kind of give you a broad sense. But please don't hold me to that. But that's like a general sense of the first version that should be coming out.
Makes
I,
sense that the interface could slow down with a lot of people in the room, but if more people join with the web app, does that not slow it down?
No, if you so you can have up to 20 people joining from the web app. and it doesn't affect the room itself in here.
Okay. So we talked about web and mentioning things on that. There is one posted here. What I like to hear the story behind it is integration with other productivity apps, and also a plus
Yeah,
one.
that's me.
So
That
yeah,
was me
go,
over here.
go, Michael. Mhm.
So I work in a software company, and I would primarily use this to meet with the teams that I'm engaging with. I'm based in Austin, Texas. I have colleagues that I interact with multiple times on a weekly basis in Copenhagen, Denmark, and Budapest, Hungary, and in Sofia, in Chennai, India, in New York. Um, so using virtual reality to bring us all together would be great. Currently, we would use something like Zoom meetings, but it really puts a distance between people. However, when we do meet, whether it's like for a weekly update meeting or it's for a brainstorm or something like that, um, we would typically use a bunch of other apps at the same time. We might look at Trello to check our current deliveries. We might look up articles in Confluence or in Jira. We might check our email to see what did that guy write to me and how should we talk about it, et cetera, or note-taking apps or whatever it might be. I guess a lot of these things could be accomplished just with a web browser, but then interactions with that at the same time as you're interacting with people would sometimes make it difficult. Uh, so yeah, anything we could do to kind of bring functionality from the most popular productivity apps in as native
Mhm.
features in an environment like that would help me a lot. Like we do most of our virtual whiteboarding in Miro, which is really cool. And somehow being able to either import a Miro to this space or save a whiteboard from this space to Miro or have them interact real time with each other, stuff like that would just make it immensely more valuable for us. Also, just one final point, because I guess in most cases, our meetings would be some combination of some people joining with a headset and others not joining with a headset. So the better we can make this space interact with other productivity apps, so people who are not able to join with a headset can still somehow take part in it, the better.
Right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, just
This is
go for it, Eduardo.
super. No, super interesting because so far you either use the screen share option to broadcast your laptop, but that content is only interactive for the person who is sharing, or you bring in some screenshots or PDF document. But I'd like Aaron to comment on what are the plans regarding integrations.
Yeah, sure. And then Eduardo, just thinking about time, we have about 12 minutes left, and I'd love to leave a little bit of time for Q&A. In terms of productivity, one of the things that we are discussing and talking about is getting and making it easier for you to bring content into the room, including pulling in stuff from Miro or other productivity apps or even Figma. So those are things that we're testing and trying to figure out at this point in time. I have seen some things that we're working on that are incredibly exciting. So there will be some improvements and things coming along those lines. But we are kind of um, right there with you in terms of being able to make it easier and easier for people to bring in content. Um, and I guess the easiest way to do it in the short term is, use the screen share and share your screen. But there's a difference in experience when you bring that content in and you can interact with it more easily and move things around in the space
Yeah,
than
and
just looking
obviously,
at your screen
if I'm
share.
using screen
Yeah.
share, then I kind of need to take off my headset. So then I have to choose between being present in the room or sharing
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. And there
Isn't
is a
this exactly
disconnect. Like,
what AR can complement, right? Because I think
hmm
that's gonna be the killer. Because if of course now I think many of us are with a Quest, but the moment that people are gonna have an AR headset on, that's a totally different ball game. I think that's gonna change a lot, and that's gonna I think possibly answer all the questions and the issue that Michael has right now.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, we originally started out as an AR company, but based on availability and this explosion of interest in the Quest, we're having to balance
Mm,
out developing for both devices. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Mo's on a Magic Leap, and it is really nice to interact with your computer and go back and forth. Um, but at the same time, it's like, hey, how can we bring this content into the room, make it easier to interact? And make it so easy that it's just a click of a button and your content is in the room. So those are some of the things that we're thinking about.
So Aaron, what is
Okay,
the
there is
capability to incorporate 3D formats here?
So we support GLB, GLTF, FBX, and then we're doing some early testing on OBJs. So if you are in the 3D space and want to test it with us, just shoot me a message on Slack and you can be part of that. We are
I'm
looking
an
at some.
architect.
Okay,
So I'm an
so you're
architect.
working
I
with
use 3D objects, but I'm not familiar with any of those 3D formats. Like
yeah. So the
typically,
architects of. Oh yeah, sorry.
uh,
Go ahead.
no, 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 I'm saying the uh, 3D objects are probably the most important aspect of this virtual program because that's something you cannot replace with WebEx or Zoom or Screen. But right
Hmm.
now, access to the 3D format seems pretty limited, so I cannot use the 3D objects that we typically use as an architect, or I think it's similar to industrial designer or any product designers too.
Yeah. What formats would you be interested in us supporting?
Uh, the typical 3D programs architecture product designers use would be the Rhino or 3D AutoCAD. SketchUp
I
is
would add to
very
that
popular in
Step,
this program.
Step or
Oh,
IGES,
Fed.
pretty universal between many. Um, translating between CAD programs. So Step, IGES, and OBJ, I think would open the doors to many people.
Mm.
Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, we're taking note of what other file formats that we should support. We started off with just a few, but we've recently added FBX and OBJ, so I think we're on trajectory to support some of the file types that
Mm.
you're working with. But if you could list them out for me, I can share them with the team, and that way we can kind of keep looking at it to see if we can get those supported
Yeah,
sooner, or
that's great.
at least let you know either way.
Yeah.
Um, all right.
and
So
I think
Eduardo, oh, go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, no, the last point that was connected to 3D objects is a set of questions here, like how to optimize the upload and get the correct shading and mesh. And you brought here our user guide. Maybe you can point out where this can be found, and we're happy also to talk about it over Slack.
Yeah, I think probably Bree wrote CR user
Yes,
guide because
just it's
she wrote.
support.spatial.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I wrote that.
All right.
Sorry. So some of that is already exists in our user guide. And Mo actually helped me write some of that content on how to optimize your file to get it into spatial. So definitely check that out because there's some useful information there.
Yeah, awesome. And it was a great article, and we there are a lot of tips on what we're doing on the back end. But do check that out. Uh, there is a Slack channel for 3D um, to discuss 3D models. So if you join that, there are people who've been using Spatial for a while, and there's good resources there as well. And we jump in there and kind of answer questions too. All right. So Eduardo, looks like we have about six minutes left. Um, so w- are there any other ones that we want to go through or touch base
I
on?
think it will be good to close the session with a last few questions either from them or things that you'd like to share with the group.
Okay. Um, and I think there was also one about avatar bodies. And I think we do have some, we do need to do some work on those, and we're spending a lot of time on that. And we're getting a lot of feedback like the arms are too thin, and people want to be able to choose their body types and have gender neutral options. So those are all things that we are looking at very heavily into and have some updates coming in our next release. Bree or Mo, do you guys have anything to add about our avatars and what we have planned?
I mean, we're excited to upgrade our avatar system to the newest release from the SDK we're using, and you guys will kind of notice there's some issues with like the border between the head and the body around the neck area. So yeah, those will be completely fixed, which we're super excited for, and we'll get some other niceties from that upgrade. So hopefully we can get that integrated soon.
Awesome, awesome. All right. Excellent. And then I guess let's kind of, again, thank you so much for coming. This was incredible. I think this is the most colorful room I've been in a while in spatial. I think I've dreamed about doing this kind of like work session. So thanks, Eduardo, for leading this today. Woohoo to Eduardo. Um, uh, and then and then we can kind of field questions. Mo is one of our engineers, and I asked him yesterday to join us. And Mo, it's really great to have you. So I think if you have any like technical questions, um, uh, it's kind of rare that we have some of our engineers joining, but I think um, not necessarily rare, but it's really special to have our team joining. So if you have any technical questions, I think maybe Mo could field some of those, and then Bree and I can kind of answer any other questions beyond that.
I had just a basic question. You were recording this on video. I'd love to show it to some of my teammates that couldn't join, just to give them an idea of what spatial can do with a lot of people. Can you make that recording available somewhere?
Yeah, Eduardo, are you filming this one? I think you're
If
still on
Eduardo
mute for
didn't,
some
I
reason.
did. I don't know if that could help anybody. I filmed the whole
Yeah.
session. If I could share it with you, Aaron, and then maybe you can share it yourself as well.
Okay. Yeah. I guess the question is everyone okay that
Exactly. Yeah.
we share it? I think that's like the main point. If you are not okay with it, just send me a message and then we won't share it. But otherwise, if you are, if I don't get any responses, I'll assume that everyone's okay with it. And then if it's a go, then we can share it in the Slack group. And maybe I can make a Slack channel for just this group and then we can share information there.
Just a quick question on the well, actually, first of all, a note on the avatars. I think the avatars are probably the best there are out there at the moment. I mean, obviously, there's always ways to improve things, but if you look, when you look around at the various platforms, this is as good as it gets, in my opinion. And then, if you, Aaron, if you don't mind, there were some questions before, and then also you made some comments on some of the roadmap items, and I'm curious. Can you give a little bit of direction on your mid to long term strategy? Are you? I mean, obviously here we're in a space, and we assume that we all know each other. And it is more. I guess you guys are catering your platform more for people who are working together and who know each other. And then this group of people is to a maximum of 30 people. And then coming back to my question from earlier, and also the note about business networking, is it fair to say that spatial is not going in the direction of also facilitating meetings where people don't know each other? And one of the things, obviously, I've noticed here is when you have more than 20 people around you. I mean, you have the name above them, that little hover, but I'm sure you guys know, like in Altspace, you can click on other people and then you can connect and that sort of thing. So can you just give a little bit of a maybe some comments on where you guys are heading, and if my statement is correct that you are not focusing on the broader networking, meeting people that you don't know, and you're focusing more on the enterprise use cases.
Mhm, mhm. And then Mo and Bree, feel free to chime in at any point in time. Um, so originally we kind of were more focusing on the enterprise side, but with the pandemic, there was 1,000% increase in interest, so we opened up more broadly, and we're getting a lot of single kind of player prosumer use. So we're exploring that. We're not necessarily focusing on anything in particular, but what we have heard since even last July are that people who have their own devices, they want to connect and meet other people. So that's kind of what spawned some of these initial meetings. And there was a lot of interest in just being able to be together, especially now when people can't necessarily be together. So there is this hunger for connection, and that drives us to kind of consider, do we open up public rooms, and how does that look, and what does that look like, and do we need moderators, and um, but I think one of the nice things about spatial is that now it's as easy as sharing a link, and then you can all be together in the same room. So it is easier for if you wanted to share that link and then connect with others. So I think we are still exploring that, and do want to understand how people want to use spatial. That's why it's so important for us to connect with you all and learn. I think that's kind of still something we're trying to wrap our heads around, about what that
Sure.
might look like for the future. Um, but in terms of kind of the shorter term product roadmap, a lot of the improvements, we consistently are talking with people and users. Bree is working super close with our enterprise team, and her and I are working together to learn about all the new people that are joining, to understand what's next, to share that information with the team. And the things that you're all listing up here, we have heard, and many of them we're addressing. So I mentioned, the whiteboard is in our product roadmap. Some integrations with Microsoft Teams and Slack are things that are coming up. Um, Bree mentioned earlier in response to a question about audio areas where you can have breakout chats with one another. It's super frustrating to be in a really large meeting and not be able to kind of like tap on somebody's shoulder. We've received uh, questions about, hey, can I click on somebody and send them a chat message? And uh, that's not on a roadmap yet, but it's obviously like something that completely makes sense to be able to communicate and connect with other people more easily. Um, so I can think of many, many times that we're in a meeting, and then I look down at my Slack channel, and Mo and Bree are asking me questions. So, and it's very difficult to take away from being in your headset and then jumping to Slack and still being present. It really takes away from that experience. So those are things that we should definitely be considering. Um, there are some things uh, that
Also a common
I'm just going.
for events.
Bree, we can hear you, but it's a little bit faint.
Oh, sorry, I'm far from my computer. The
Yeah.
I was just gonna chime in and say that the having some sort of chat function has also been popular for events, like a request for people, just so there can be a presentation and a queue of queue for Q&A.
Yeah, exactly. I just clicked on the save button and it said 9:04. I'm more than happy to stay on, and our team is happy to stay here. But I know that people are very busy and you most likely have other meetings to get to. So I'm going to wrap it up. But at the same time, we're also going to stay here to answer any questions. But I want to thank everyone for being here. It's really an honor to be able to hear directly from you about your experience. And thanks, Mo, Bree, and especially Eduardo for leading us through this activity today to really kind of capture how everyone's using this, what you really like, and what's are the things that we need to focus in on. Slack channel just for this group of people. And then off, feel free to. And for those of you who are leaving, thank you so much. We're so happy to be able to connect and feel like we're all together in the same room. So thank you, and
So it's
stay on the
possible
lookout
for
for
anybody to stay here, right? If they want to
yeah,
hang
and
out
then
and chat to each other.
exactly. And I don't have any other meetings after this, so happy to take our time and go through any other questions.
Question. You
Yes,
you
definitely.
can now save